Welcome back yet again to Ask Steve Judd. My name is Sue Brain. And today, gosh, we're going to be talking about the 19th of August. It's such a big day. So, Steve, why is it such an important day?
Right, a number of different factors, all which add together to make it one of the most important days, not only of the year, but of the decade. Possibly bigger, depending on events. Firstly, it is a full moon. The sun and moon will be at 27 degrees of Leo and 27 degrees of Aquarius. It just so happens that at the same time, Uranus will be at 27 degrees of Taurus, squaring the sun and squaring the moon. Mercury will be retrograde, conjuncting the sun on that day. So we will also have Mercury retrograde opposite the full moon and squaring Uranus. Completely separately to that, and what many people like, such as astronomers and scientists, would say pure random coincidence, Jupiter and Saturn will be exactly square to each other on the 19th. And on the 19th, Venus in the sky will be exactly opposite Saturn and square Jupiter. So we have a mutable T-square, Venus opposite Saturn square Jupiter, both square Jupiter, and a fixed T-square, Sun, Mercury opposite Moon, but all square Uranus, all on the same day. Monday, the 19th of August. It's way, way beyond the realm of statistical coincidence for so much planetary intensity to be occurring in such a short, concentrated period of time, that there is bound to be some type of large-scale development, both globally and in the charts of many individuals, over the run-up to the 19th of August. And I would suggest that the 48 hours before and the 48 hours after this are critical.
Yeah. And just to be aware and take care of yourselves.
Oh, I've advised all my clients around the 19th, deliberately choose to not get involved.
Yes.
Deliberately choose to take a step back and say, I'll come back to you in 3 days' time.
Absolutely. I agree with that. We don't want to scaremonger, do we?
Nope.
But certainly being forewarned is forearmed that this is a very pokey day. And
when I deal with all my clients and I'm saying, I'm doing a reading for them, I say, look, at the end of the day, I cannot and I will not make predictions, but I can give you timings and areas, and what you do with that is up to you.
Yeah, that's the free will coming in.
Indeed. The other day, I was dealing with a client who's got Neptune square her ascendant, Pluto squaring her Mercury, Mars opposite Saturn axis, and Uranus squaring her moon. And she turned around to me and she said, yeah, I've got all these transits going. She's astrologically knowledgeable.
Yeah.
She said, I've got all these transits going on. And I just thought, well, I can either lie down and die, or I can get up and go, no, I'm going to use this and do something with it.
Yeah.
And I thought, what a fantastic attitude.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's, again, we've talked about this a lot, haven't we? That's the joy of knowing your chart and understanding a little bit about astrology, so you can actually understand the energies that you're dealing with. We don't know how astrology works, do we, Steve? Or do we? We're beginning.
There is no scientifically acceptable explanation. But I know how it works, and you know how it works.
Yes. We were talking about this before, weren't we? I'm still in awe of how it works. But I do feel that are a lot of us who are astrologers who use intuition as well. There is this sense of combining astrology with intuition. And I can often look at a chart. I don't know if you're like this, that I'm looking at a client's chart and it's just the piece of paper and you're working with the symbols before you see them. And then a minute you're connected with them, boom, something else happens.
Yeah. I don't think it's just intuition. I think there's a sense of animistic instinct as well.
Possibly, yes.
Now, in this last 2 or 3 days, I've been getting up at sort of 4:30, 4:45 in the morning, and I've been going out and looking at about 10 o'clock in the sky to the east. because you can see Mars and Jupiter together. And at the moment, they are separated by about 1 millimeter of space. And they're going to be like that for the next 2 or 3 days, through to the 16th, 17th. And you can see Jupiter 3 times brighter than the biggest star. And right above it, 1 millimeter away from our perspective, you can see a little red dot, and that's Mars. And when you actually get out there and see the planet shining on you,
yes,
you think, no, there is something raw, primal, and real about this, that what is way beyond rational and logical explanation. It sings to my soul, and it empowers me in a way that could be loosely just termed, for lack of any other explanation, could be loosely termed magical. But I think it's a much more of a magical, such a broad concept. It's animistic, it's spiritual, and it evokes consciousness.
And it, do you know, for me, it evokes awe, AWE.
Yes.
Because it brings back great mystery to me, and lost great mystery. And I think for me, how astrology works is about great mystery. And I hope we never, ever prove everything, because for me, that's the wonderful thing about great mystery. Because
that's why I'm doing, that's why I'm PhDs on crop circles, because I hope we never find out what makes them, because I love the mystery.
Yes.
And the same with astrology. If I knew how it worked, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. There is just something else that goes, but we're going off tack here, aren't we? Let's go back to the 19th of August, because I find, I mean, and we'll have another full conversation about how astrology works at a later date, and we'll let everyone know when we're going to do that. Because I think also what's really interesting I mean, this is happening anyway, but Pluto's retrograde, Neptune's retrograde, and Saturn's retrograde as well on those days. And we know that Mercury's retrograde. So yes, how do we, so it's pokey energy, and if we use the retrograde well, it could be time of great reflection, a time of sort of a reassessment, perhaps, of globally as well as personally. And I just wanted you to make a comment about that.
Also, deep insight. Insight into oneself, and insight into what's really going on around oneself.
Yes.
Bearing in mind, this is the weekend of the Democratic Convention in America.
Yeah, and
I'm sure that, bearing in mind recent circumstances, the security will be very, very tight there.
Yes, but do you know what? These tensions, these T-squares have a habit of playing out somehow, and it might not be there.
Indeed.
It might, although her chart is fired up by it, it may not be there, but
in a positive way, we have to say.
Yes. Yes. So, I mean, we can't predict. I know we can't predict. And how do you feel it's going to, these T-squares and the full moon? How do you feel, and this, the Uranus and Saturn square, how do you feel this could play out?
Well, with regard to the Democratic Convention, it's a done deal already. She'll be crowned. She'll be the candidate. And I think I'm not going to go beyond that at the moment with regard to the American election, because there's still 3 months to go, 2 or 3 months to go.
Well,
it's warming up, and things are changing. But
beyond that, beyond America, beyond that, how do you feel it could impact us globally?
Well, to be honest, there's 2 different specific areas which I suppose we could find a connection with. With the retrograde Mercury, Sun, Moon, square Uranus, obviously we're looking at the potential for more technological outrages, outages, hacking, that type of thing, as well as possibly some serious challenges to some of the more modern technological breakthroughs of recent times. Whereas with the Jupiter-Saturn-Venus thing, particularly with Jupiter-Saturn being exact on that day, we are going to see, and the Jupiter-Saturn square will continue until the end of June, start of July of next year. And I find it fascinating that the final square of Jupiter and Saturn happens a few days after they've both moved from their mutable signs into cardinal signs. So the last Jupiter-Saturn square will be at 0 degrees Cancer and Aries, I believe.
Yes. Yes.
And this talks to me of a massive shift at the global economic and financial level over this next 9 months. And hopefully, recentering some of the things that have gone way out of balance in recent years. It very much depends on individual governments as to how they spend money and what they spend money on. But the planet, we're out of kilter.
Oh, yes, absolutely. It's very interesting because for me, when I think about Jupiter square Saturn, I mean, Jupiter is all about expansion and traditionally Saturn is all about constriction. But I often wonder if it's like if it that square creates a manifestation of something that could be really positive.
I would like to think so. Neither Saturn doesn't like Pisces that much, and Jupiter doesn't like Gemini.
No, it does not.
Two
And
wrongs don't
very
make a
feisty
right.
out there, hasn't it? With lots of
Two wrongs don't always make a right, but there is an idea, if not a philosophy, that when things get so bad, if you push through it, it's like pushing through the end of one of those old primary school pencil sharpeners, where you get to that it's almost like the birth canal, where you get to that very little fine point, and you get squeezed through that, and then suddenly you expand into glory. And that's the impression I'm getting with this Jupiter Saturn thing. I think it's going to be a painful 9 months now for large scale economics across the globe. But the carrot here is that by the middle of next year, the world may be far less indebted to the faceless people that we all owe collective debts to, which would be a good thing.
I mean, wouldn't it be wonderful if part of this manifestation would be wiping the global debt and we all had to reset? Wouldn't that? I mean, we're bankrupt. America's bankrupt. The whole of South America. Well, there's no country that's not bankrupt. There just isn't.
There's a need for a global reset, and I have argued many times for the introduction of a global currency, which would automatically blow out the window things like exchange rates. And of course, there's going to be a very small and very powerful minority who will fight to the death to prevent that.
Yes, and perhaps with I don't know, that could be represented by Saturn, that small enclave hanging on, with Jupiter just going, oh, let's just blow that out the water. I'm expecting, especially with this Uranus thing going on in the new moon, the full moon. I'm expecting unexpected things.
Me too. But another thought occurs to me that this is a necessary hard correction in order to reposition ourselves for the big one. Neptune and Saturn together into Aries, Uranus into Gemini, Pluto moves into Aquarius. And this is the big one. Never happened before, never happened again.
Yeah.
So it may be that this is a kind of hard reset in preparation for what's to come over 25 and 26.
Yes, we need how we grow is there is a sense of when we're sitting on something and repressing it in our unconscious, there is a point where everything explodes out and you think the whole of your life blows up and it's you're thinking, oh my God, it's a disaster. Then a couple of years down the line, you look back and you just go, do you know what? Very painful, but I'm so glad that happened because it's put me here. And I'm a different person.
I equate that to almost every planetary influence, especially Pluto, but all of them. It does seem at the moment that some people, well, I can only quote from my own experience. I'm so aware of what's coming up in the next couple of years, but it seems to me at the moment that I am ramming in as much different stuff as I possibly can at the moment to position myself to try and bring astrological knowledge into the world at an accelerated rate whilst we still can. And I have every intention of stepping back completely from the front line around July of next year.
Okay.
You
Mm.
know, but
It's
these are fascinating times we live in.
It's interesting you use the word frontline, because I think that astrologers now are on the front line of providing information to people who have no idea who to trust in the mainstream news. And I just feel, if you look at the numbers of hits on various astrological sites and YouTube channels, people are desperate to have some form of guidance.
We are in the middle. Take away all of the economics and the politics and the media. We are in the middle of a massive consciousness revolution, the
We
like
are.
of which has never happened in humanity's history before. There's never been as many people as there are now. There's 4 times more people on planet now than there are from when I was born.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And when
Yeah.
you look at both the technological and the spiritual acceleration of just the last 30 years, we're heading towards some type of nexus point in the very near future now.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
for 20 years, I've been thinking, oh yeah, 25, 26, oh, that's way down the line. And now I'm like, uh-oh,
Oh,
here
yeah.
we go.
Well, but it's, I think also, and I think we've talked about this before, it's about how do astrologers take responsibility for how they deliver the message. I am troubled by some astrologers. I believe that are feeding fear into the zeitgeist by talking about war. We can't predict that. We can predict there are difficult situations that are manifesting, and there may be a lot of tension in the air, and that will manifest in somehow. But I'm very troubled by that, or the dramatization of astrology, of stuff that's happening. Yes, we need to be prepared, definitely. I think, as I said, forearmed is forewarned, but I don't know about this, Steve. I'm cautious, and there's a lot of it going on, and I just wondered where you were with this.
I just think you're exceedingly polite. I'll take you back 3 years. In the middle of COVID, so many astrologers were either denying its existence or saying that it was a scam or decrying its strength. And those astrologers now, and we're deliberately not naming names, obviously, but those astrologers now have been sidelined.
Mm.
The same is going to happen now. I know that there are astrologers out there now, people who should know better, who are talking actively about war and the upsets and the decimation that this will bring. And they are almost deliberately bringing in the politics of fear. They should know better, and they should be bloody ashamed of themselves, because they are not doing astrology's work. They are contributing to paranoia and fear. This is not astrology's work.
No, I agree. And I think the thing is that everyone's on such a heightened level of I think we're all on that heightened level of trauma, of watchfulness, of being very sensitive to what's going around us. And because there's so much fear in the collective,
Mm-hmm.
and I think we're being very deeply impacted by that, and we don't know where to go for the truth. So
Yeah.
what I would say to anyone watching this, just be cautious about, listen to as many people as you want and many astrologers as you want, but just put a filter on it.
Yes. Couple of examples. A week and a half ago, 2 concerts by Taylor Swift were cancelled in Vienna because 3 teenagers had been radicalized and were going to attempt some type of outrage. That was one. What was the other? I had it in my head just now. It's gone. Oh yeah, Banksy. In the last week and a half, Banksy's done 7 or 8 different
Yes.
artworks in London, and they've all been thieved, stolen, or defaced almost straight away. But as people have defaced them, crowds have been booing these vandals, and the vast majority of people who don't have a voice are craving for some type of relative stability and normality. And hopefully, the majority of world leaders over the coming week or two are going to feel this and deliberately step back. Obviously, there'll be 1 or 2 that won't.
Yes, absolutely. Or they may be walking into their own personal crisis, let's put it that way.
I note with interest the horoscopes of certain political leaders, such as Ayatollah Khomeini of the Ayatollah in charge of Iran. I forget his name at the moment. Also Benjamin Netanyahu.
Yes.
Lots of stuff around 29 degrees of Aries, 29 degrees of Libra. Pluto is about to square them for the 3rd and final time. That's just as an example. There are many other figures. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to be flying to the Middle East in the next couple of weeks.
No, and I think that's been forearmed is forewarned.
Yes.
You know, and if you feel like you want to get on an aeroplane and fly, that go for it, you know, that's fine.
Absolutely.
And if you feel inside yourself that you don't, then follow that, your intuition, your higher self knows the truth for you.
And this actually is one of my personal strong viewpoints. We've been conditioned by 2,000 years or 10,000 years of dominator culture into believing what we've been told to believe, whether it's by media, politicians, or religion. And as a result, we've had our instinct and our intuition and our own latent psychic abilities hammered out of us. And now it's all beginning to return. The consciousness revolution is awakening old patterns inside ourselves that have been there since the start of Neanderthal man. And now we're becoming more integrated, more in tune with ourselves and more in tune with the world around us in a way that's both scary
Yes.
and stimulating, and it's terrifying to the people in positions who have had control for a very long time.
What I would say to anyone, if you feel confused about what you need to do for yourself, is just take a moment. You can light a candle to yourself, put your hand on your heart and breathe with that, and you'll know your truth.
I would add, put one hand on your heart and the other hand just below your navel.
Or on your belly, whatever works for you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
To me, that's where the instinct is centered.
Yeah. Steve, is there anything else that you'd like to say about this pokey 19th of August?
Duck.
Chuck.
I said that on that. I did say that on that video I did on Mars conjunct Uranus conjunct Algol, and I just said duck, and the next day,
Yeah.
so he
That's
ducked.
so interesting, isn't it? I think the other thing is to watch the synchronicities happening.
Yes.
Something will manifest. We don't know what, but something will manifest on a global level, on a global scale that will go, oh, okay.
On that day, I didn't realize it when I booked it, but it was the only day I could book it. On the 19th, I'm in a film studio in London, near London Bridge Station, recording about 5 hours of content. So it's going to be, I shall keep my
Well, I
eye on
hope the electrics don't go down, Steve. We need you.
So in the last
Not an
48 hours
outage.
where I live, I've had 3 electrical power cuts, and at the moment I've got no water. So,
Oh,
you
well,
know, you dance with it.
you
That's
dance
the
with
thing.
it.
Humans are natural dancers.
Yes.
I don't just mean physical by moving your body
Yeah.
about in a rhythmic way. We're flexible, we're adaptable, we have humor, we can dance with everything. Don't get so wound up, folks.
Yeah.
Find joy.
And the other lovely thing I love about the human condition is we're utterly resilient.
Oh yeah.
Hugely resilient.
Yeah.
So, you know, we will get through this, whatever this is, because You guess
will.
what? We always have,
And we always will.
and we always will. And you know, but just listen to yourself. Just listen.
What
Listen
don't kill
to
you makes you
yourself around the
stronger.
19th. Yeah. Anything else you want to say before we close?
No, I don't think so. I think we've about done, but yeah, there is one last thing.
Go on.
Because I do I used to do 800 readings a year. I've cut down to 600 now because I've got other things going on. I've still got a massive waiting list, mind. But when you do so many readings, you get an idea of what's coming up through the individual charts. And when I do a transit graph for the year for clients, what's coming up, it's really noticeable how the period of late August through to January, February of next year is so much quieter, with the exception of that Mars-Pluto opposition at 0 degrees Leo Aquarius, 0 degrees Leo 29 Capricorn on the 5th of November, which happens to be the American election.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting conversation, isn't it?
For another time, yes.
Another time after it happens. Yes, we're going to be everyone's very interested about that.
After it happens, yeah, I think that's prudent, yes. Yes, but in the meantime, to all those other astrologers out there, take responsibility for your words. People look up to you. They don't want to hear you talking about panic and war. They want to see you find positive options and alternatives and breed positivity.
Yeah, yes, just whatever is helpful.
Yeah.
What's helpful. All right, lovely. So we'll see each other next time.